Hey everyone, Richard Phillips back at you with some more modern action. Today we're going to be taking a look at another Teferi deck. So this is something I brewed up, and I'm really excited to give it a shot. I haven't played any matches with it, so it might need some testing, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. It's another Teferi Time Raveler deck. So I played this in the blue-white mid-range deck, and we didn't really get to take advantage of the static ability too much, where opponents can only cast spells anytime they'd cast a sorcery. One of the coolest interactions is Teferi Time Raveler with the card Spell Queller. So Spell Queller, when it dies, our opponent gets to cast the card that was exiled under it. However, that's not at sorcery speed, that's at instant speed. So if Teferi Time Raveler's out and the opponent kills a Spell Queller, or we blink a Spell Queller with a Restoration Angel, the spell is unable to be cast by the opponent and is just exiled. So that's really cool, and we're going to get to try to hopefully cheat with Spell Queller by exiling a spell just straight up off the stack and not have to worry about it being cast again. So that's, you know, the main synergy with the deck between Teferi and that, with the Restoration Angel. In addition to that, we have a bunch of other sorceries like Lingering Souls. We can cast Lingering Souls at instant speed, Brutalities at instant speed, Thoughtseizes, Inquisitions, Fatal Pushes at instant speed. It should be really good. So basically what this deck is it's like Jund, but Esper colors. So we're looking to disrupt our opponent's hand, disrupt their game plan, play to the board, and then beat them with Spell Quellers, Restoration Angels, Teferis, Kaya, and Lingering Souls tokens. We also have a few cards like Creeping Tar Pit, Shambling Vent in our land section, and a Kalitas with Fatal Push and blocking and Collective Brutality for value. So that's what we got going on in the main. In the board, we have two Ashioks, which I'm really excited to try out. So far, he's been really good. And a Narset, which is excellent in the Phoenix matchup and in control mirrors and stuff like that. Our only counter magic in the 75 are 3 Dovin's Vetoes. What's excellent about Dovin's Veto is that it just straight up counters something. So we don't have to worry too much about, even if our opponent's playing like control of some sort, we can just Dovin's Veto their Planeswalkers, and then once we cast a Teferi, the opponent can't counter our stuff, so hopefully we'll be fine in that. A little bit more for like creature matchups here with another Kalitas. We got a Liliana's Defeat for Planeswalker, like Liliana's specifically, as well as like Death Shadow. And then the Surgical Extractions with the Ashiok and the Kayas for graveyard decks. And with that, guys, we will jump into a league, and I'll see you at the beginning of round 1. Alright, everyone, welcome to round number 1. This hand is really slow. Opponent kept 7, and I don't think we can. Like, this is really bad. Alright, this is a little bit better, I think. So we can put a land to the bottom. And then at least the Snapcaster Mages are castable to block. Everything's mismatched today. Alright. So of course we drew another land. Unsure what we're playing against. Looks like it might be some blue control deck of some sort. Oh, okay, so it's Merfolk. So if we can avoid fetching out a blue source, that would actually be really good here. So I'm going to, if I can, try to remember my best to not fetch out a blue source at any point here. If our opponent puts a Spreading Seas on something, that's obviously different, but I might honestly just run out of Snapcaster Mage here to block. I think I will. So otherwise we're not doing anything on 2 at all. So I'll just go ahead and get a white source here. So just get a Plains. We don't really need double blue in this deck for pretty much any spell, other than activating the Creeping Tar Pit, so I guess we can just fetch 2 swamps with these Polluted Deltas. Alright, and the key in this matchup is to just make sure the opponent doesn't get too far ahead on board. Make sure we kill their lords and make sure they have to overextend, especially post-board when we have sweepers. So what's the opponent going to cast here? Like what's cost 3 in their deck? Like a Kira or a Miro Regery? I think in general they don't play Miro Regeries anymore. So I'm a little unsure of what's going on here. I think they are too. Okay, there's the Spreading Seas. Okay, so unfortunate. So now we are going to have to begin to fetch up some blue sources. Oh, there's a Kaya, though. So we can actually get some good value out of this by just Kaya minusing on the Curse Catcher. This only says instant or sorcery spell, which is kind of cool. So we'll just go ahead and get white-black here. We will have to shock, unfortunately, here, but I think this is okay. Cool. Alright, so now the opponent will have to, once again continue to play to the board, and we get to exile card out of their graveyard to gain some life here, which is nice. They have a Mutavault. We can hold up Spell Queller next turn, or we can cast Lingering Souls. Unsure which one I want to do. I think we'll see how much pressure our opponent puts on board here, but if we at any point can ambush with a Spell Queller, that's going to be awesome. Okay, the opponent doesn't do anything, which means that the combination of Inquisition plus that is going to be great. So we will, I guess, start with the... Oh, wait, hold on. We want to tap differently. We'll start with an Inquisition here. This way we leave up Spell Queller here. And we don't have to... Okay, so the opponent's just going to let it resolve. Interesting. Alright, so they have Harbinger, which they can cast. Lord of Atlantis. Trickster. And Trickster has Flash. So I guess we're just going to take the Lord here. Yeah, that seems fine. So we'll just take the Lord here, and then we're just going to exile one of them because there's no reason to exile both because we would like to gain as much life as possible off of this Kaya. So we'll just exile the one for now, and then we'll leave up the ability to Spell Queller during, or when the opponent tries to play a Lord, I guess. So we know this is our opponent's hand. Or actually, we know this. All right, and they're just playing the Harbinger. So we know that their hand is Trickster, Regery, Master of Waves. Sure. So that's fine. So hopefully the opponent tries to cast Regery here, and then we just Spell Queller it. That would be ideal. Yes, so that's exactly what's going to happen here. So you know their hand is Trickster plus Master of Waves. We will just go ahead and get a Swamp here, I guess. And we will Spell Quell the Regery. And the opponent will not be able to attack through this, which is nice. So then next turn we can actually Snapcaster or Inquisition the Trickster out of our opponent's hand if we want to, which honestly doesn't seem the worst. Alright, we did draw another land, so we could just do the full Lingering Souls, which also doesn't seem terribly too bad. Opponent currently can't cast both of the cards in their hand, so I guess we'll just go ahead and do that then. We'll go ahead and get Swamp here, I guess. Well, that leaves us a little bit weak to another Spreading Seas, because then we wouldn't have another white source, so I guess we do need to get ourselves another white source. So we'll just get the other Godless Shrine. And we'll cast Lingering Souls and then flash back Lingering Souls. And then attack our opponent for 2. And pass. So our best draw would probably be like Path to Exile or something. Alright, the opponent does draw another land, so they can go Trickster into Master of Waves. But like I said, we have a lot of live draws here. This Kai has also already killed something and made it very awkward for our opponent. Okay, the opponent's just going for the Master of Waves, so they're going to get four elementals. That's good for us so far. Alright, we know that they have a Trickster in hand. I think they're trying to set up for like a weird... I think we just let Kaya take 2. Like, that doesn't matter too much, so we'll just let that happen. Alright, so there's Teferi. Teferi's really good. We can just bounce the Master of Waves, and then, like we have that interaction occur. And we get to draw a card off of this, too, which is nice. Okay, the opponent flashes in Merfolk Trickster because they wouldn't be able to cast it without the Teferi. Sure, so that gets bounced down. Let's say, until your next turn. Okay, so it's return up to 1, so we can also return our own Spell Quellers at certain points to just exile like the card that's under it. Like in this case, it would be the Regery there. So we'll get rid of this Master of Waves. And we drew an Inquisition, which doesn't do anything. So we will exile our own Snapcaster Mage just to gain some life here. And we can attack our opponent for 1 here. Yeah. Because then we can just block with the other 3 spirits. There's a chance we should have just left all 4 spirits back, but that's okay. I think we're alright. Still looking for like a Path to Exile or similar. Okay, sure. See how the opponent attacks. See how many they send at Teferi. Alright, one at Teferi. This one's going at Kaya. And this one's also going at Kaya. Interesting. Alright, so we can double block the Harbinger, single block the Trickster, and then both of our Planeswalkers are survive, and our opponent will get significantly fewer cards off of their... or significantly fewer 1/1s off of their, or 2/1s rather, off of their, what's the card called? This thing, the 4-mana thing. Sure, so the opponent only gets 3 1/1s. Or 4 1/1s, right. 2, 3, and then 1 off the Spreading Seas. Right, okay. Alright, we drew a Fatal Push, which kind of does something here. Alright, so we'll cast the Teferi, or we have the Teferi here. We will exile that. And we'll pass the turn. So then during our opponent's draw step, we are going to Inquisition them, which is really cool. Alright, so draw step occurs, we'll Inquisition our opponent. And then we can Snapcaster Inquisition them, too. Which is very sweet. Alright, so they just have a land in hand, which is fine. So there's the Mutavault. We unfortunately don't have Revolt here, and there wasn't really a good way for us to turn it on. We'll see how our opponent chooses to attack with everything. We could push our own Spirit and then snap push the Master of Waves, which is an interesting line that we could definitely take. Unsure if that's exactly the line that we're going to take, but we can think about it at least. Yeah, I think that's actually the line that we're going to take. So they're attacking... Yeah, so we can block here, push it, and then snap push the Master of Waves. Yeah. It's not an amazing line. But it does work. So then we push our own Spirit. Alright, and then still before combat, or still before damage rather, we then Snapcaster, target Fatal Push. Push the Master of Waves. Alright, so then that just causes that to be eaten. Then we're ahead on board, and we have the Teferi and the Kaya. Alright, so we will exile the Trickster and that thing. We will cast this. Alright, we drew another Teferi, which is interesting. Put the Queller there, plus the Teferi. And then we can actually not get in with the Creeping Tar Pit, which is a little bit awkward. But yeah, we'll attack our opponent for 2, leaving back the Spell Queller to block. And then next turn we can bounce something with the Teferi and draw a card and then just cast the other one. Alright, cool. So the opponent concedes, which is excellent. In this matchup, the Supreme Verdicts are obviously excellent. Those aren't very good. Those aren't very good. This card's probably reasonable. And the Kaya's probably reasonable too, so maybe the 3 of these. Cards that are bad in this matchup, honestly, Lingering Souls in general is pretty bad. Especially, you know, that high number of them like that. The Wall of Omens are not going to block particularly well, except when they do. It's like really awkward. Like they're not going to do anything except for when they do. So maybe even this Kaya is too much. So maybe we just cut down like 2 Lingering Souls, maybe something like that, and pass. It's the same thing. Like Lingering Souls isn't going to block well except when it does. So maybe we'll just submit like that. Could be wrong. The other Kalitas might be pretty good too. Just the lifelink. But, you know, can't really attack into it anyway. And we'll see. We might board a little bit more later, but for game 1, this seems like a solid board plan. Or for match 2. Alright, this hand's very good. It's got pieces of interaction. It's got 4 lands that can actually cast the Supreme Verdict. Opponent can't counter the Supreme Verdict, which is excellent. Alright, we'll start with the Creeping Tar Pit, I guess. We have a couple of Wall of Omens, which means that the opponent's going to have to overextend, which is nice. And the Wall of Omens always replace themselves, which is exactly where we kind of want to be in this matchup. Okay, sure. So Spreading Seas on it, that's... I mean, not amazing, but it's certainly fine. We're not color screwed. We'll go ahead and play this Wall of Omens. Alright, we drew Snapcaster Mage, which is better than more lands, I guess. Next turn, we'll probably just play the Shambling Vent and another Wall of Omens. Unless we feel like we really need to Fatal Push something. Oh, another Spreading Seas. Okay, well, it's a good thing that our hand was shaping up the way that it was, because this would be really awkward if we were trying to do, you know, pretty much anything else. We'll just play another Godless Shrine and another Wall of Omens. That seems fine, and then we can start playing Restoration Angels and things like that. So I'm perfectly happy with this. I mean, yeah, it's a little awkward. But we can actually still Verdict next turn, which is kind of cool too. So if our opponent plays like multiple things here and we feel like we need to Verdict, it sounds good. And like this Trickster isn't going to be able to get in because of our Wall of Omens unless they play another card that taps down a Wall of Omens or plays a Lord, which would make them all have, what's it called, Island Walk. Alright, so there's Mutavault, which is a good draw for the opponent. We don't have a great answer for Mutavaults. Okay, so there's a Regery. Oh, and and a Master of the Pearl Trident. Okay, so the opponent will have 2 cards left in hand. Hopefully they play one more thing. That would be, oh man, it looks like they are too. That's awesome. All right, please play another Lord here. All right, well, I can't block that, so I'm not going to. All right, so currently this Master here is the only thing that's giving everything Island Walk. So I think if we just don't play anything here, the opponent will have to overextend because I have push, snap, push up here. So I think that's what I'm going to do is just hold up push, snap, push, because currently they only have one thing with Island Walk, or it's giving things Island Walk, and the Wall of Omens is holding everything else off. So if I can push, snap, push here, I'm going to be pretty happy with that. Actually, I cannot push, snap, push. Yeah, I cannot push, snap, push. I can definitely push something, though. All right. All right, so everything attacks. I can push, snap, push, but then I can't cast Verdict next turn. I guess that's what I should have said. All right, so we'll push this. And then we have good blocks on the other things. So block, block. And then hopefully the opponent plays something here. Or otherwise we just kind of wasted the push. Even if we wasted the push, it's not the worst thing, but not great. Alright, so still the opponent is not... Alright, so we'll get a Hollow Fountain. So the opponent's not going to overextend, which is it's certainly smart for them. We will play Shambling Vents here, I guess, and then we can flash in a Restoration Angel, or we can snap push something. Both of those plays seem pretty good. Okay, so the opponent reveals a Harbinger of the Tides. Okay, so we know that they have Harbinger of the Tides, and it will be 2 unknown creatures. All right, so the opponent taps down a Wall of Omens, which is pretty solid. I don't think I really accounted for that, honestly, what I was... All right, so they have a Harbinger of the Tides and 1 unknown card. And what to know is that for 4 mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, they can flash this in. Okay. Alright, so they're just going to bring the Mutavault up and attack. So we're going to get to play the Restoration Angel and flicker Wall of Omens. So this is good. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we will just get to eat something and block the other two. And draw a card. Alright. So bounce this Wall of Omens here. And draw a card. Alright, there's a Kalitas. That's pretty solid. I'm going to eat the Mutavault because the Mutavault is the one that will survive a Supreme Verdict, and one of the reasons I didn't cast it last turn. Alright, so that's pretty solid. The opponent will now, I guess, just play another Silvergill Adept, revealing the same Harbinger again. Okay. So I think it might be time for just the Verdict here, because we can then rebuild after the Verdict pretty well. It'll be a 4 for 0, basically, because we've drawn so many cards off of our Restoration Angels and such. And we'll be at 9. The only way we get a little bit punished for this is if the opponent actually has a 4-mana play in hand. But if they have that, do we really have a good out to it anyway? Because next turn they can just tap down stuff. Yeah, I think we're kind of pressed into doing it, which is a little unfortunate. Alright, so I guess I'll attack our opponent first. Yeah, but we're kind of pressed into this because if the opponent actually does have the 4-mana play, they can just tap down stuff and then attack us for a lot. And we can, I guess, snap push, but we still take a lot of damage. I think we just have to hope the opponent doesn't have it. It would be the only card in their hand. Alright, it looks like they had just F6'd, so that's good. Cool. Opponent drew a Mutavault, which is pretty good. So we know they have Harbinger of the Tide in hand. Another Supreme Verdict. That's very nice. Alright, so we will play this because this will leave up Snap Push. And we will just play the Kalitas and pass the turn with Snap Push up. As well as Spell Queller. So if the opponent plays something that we can snap push, we will snap push it. And if they don't play anything, we can just sit tight on our snap push and start playing like Lingering Souls and getting in with the Kalitas, and everything should be good. Alright, so the opponent just passes, which is fine. We know that they have this Harbinger, but we can interact with it, so we'll make them use it here. We'll attack. They'll probably, yeah, here it is. They'll flash this in, and we can just Spell Queller it, I guess. It's fine. Alright, so we'll start by Spell Quellering. Sure. So it's good usage of the Spell Queller. We get to hit our opponent here for 3. Alright, the opponent says GG. Alright, I guess the opponent's not totally packing it in yet, but they're pretty far back, so we'll see. Looks like the opponent's running out of outs. Uh-oh. Alright. So there's a Regery. Sir Regis. Sure. So they'll activate the Mutavault, and then we just Snapcaster, push the Regery, and that'll be a pretty good game, I think. Alright, so we'll get Watergrave tapped. Cast Snapcaster Mage. and the opponent concedes. Excellent. So the combination of Verdict plus like awkward blockers and making the opponent overextend was able to get there against Merfolk, which is not an easy matchup. All right, everyone, welcome to round number 2. This hand is pretty much perfect. Mana's a tad bit awkward just because these polluted deltas are both that and not a combination of some of our other fetch lands, but I think we should be able to work around it. We just have to take a little bit more damage if we want to do Inquisition into Wall of Omens. I guess it's not even that much more damage. It's like we'll have to take 3, which isn't bad. We could also, depending on what our opponent does, just play Creeping Tar Pit turn 1, but I don't think we're going to do that if they played Ghost Quarter to start. So I think we'll start off just by shocking here and getting a Godless Shrine. We obviously want to save our basics if they have Ghost Quarters. Alright, so we will... Okay, so see the Thought-Knot Seer, Eldrazi Mimic, this kind of deck. So we obviously don't want to... Well, I guess we don't want to path Eternal Scourges, so we just want to play Wall of Omens to block it. So we'll take the card they can play next turn and pass. Alright, they play the Gemstone Caverns. Oh, they found an Eldrazi Mimic. It's a good draw for them. Alright, we will just stonewall them with a Wall of Omens. Restoration Angel is a good draw. So when the opponent plays... So next turn, I guess we can just play Teferi and bounce a thing. Doesn't seem terrible, honestly. Alright, so the Wastes. And then they'll play, I guess... Oh, they're going to dismember my Wall of Omens. Sure. You got it, buddy. Alright, well now we're definitely going to tempo them with Teferi, especially since we drew a second path here. So we'll go ahead and get maybe a basic. Now we know that they're this deck and not a different one. So I guess we can just get Swamp here. Huh. Yeah, let's just get Swamp here. And we'll play the Teferi and bounce the Eldrazi Mimic. So that way if our opponent wants to play their Thought-Knot Seer next turn, they won't be able to play Eldrazi Mimic. And they can also just replay the Eldrazi Mimic and won't be able to play their Thought-Knot Seer. So they can Thought-Knot Seer us, take one of the paths, we'll path it. Or I guess they could take like Restoration Angel and then we path it. Alright, another Ghost Quarter. Alright, so we do only have 2 more basics left in the deck, so that is something to keep in mind, is that we only have 2. Alright, we know that they have Eternal Scourge, Cavern of Souls, and Eldrazi Mimic in hand. We actually know their whole hand. Teferi, obviously, as you saw there, on just the fact that it was like a bounce, a spell, draw a card for 3 mana was great there. It's put our opponent back like a whole turn, and obviously it replaced itself, and the opponent's going to have a hard time picking apart this hand, so they take the Serum Visions just because our hand was so redundant. I guess we'll just play the Creeping Tar Pit, and plus with the Teferi. And then we can just path the Thought-Knot Seer before combat, I guess. I guess we'll do it during draw step. Alright, we drew Serum Visions, which we can actually cast here at the end of the turn, or in response to something our opponent's done, which I'm going to forget. So every time I don't do this, remind me, because very obviously we can cast this turn. It's the whole point of Teferi, and I'm just going to forget because I'm a big dummy. Sure, so there's the Eternal Scourge. This thing can become a 3/3, which is fine because it doesn't do anything. We'll just cast the Serum Visions now. There's Lingering Souls, another Teferi, and a Marsh Flats. We definitely don't want the other Marsh Flats. The other Teferi, it's probably, we don't want that either. So we'll just pass. It's a Fatal Push, alright. So we'll plus with the Teferi. We'll play Polluted Delta and pass with the intention of pushing something and then maybe using the Restoration Angel to get in the way of one of these creatures. We can also just double cast Lingering Souls. You may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Alright, so that includes from the graveyard, so I can cast 4 Lingering Souls in response to the attack, which is kind of cool. Actually, it's really cool. Getting very excited about this, some of these synergies in the deck. Alright, so another Eternal Scourge. So sure. That'll get bigger. Opponent is not going to attack. Interesting. Alright. So now we will, I guess, shock. Yeah, it's probably worth shocking here. So we'll get Watery Grave. Yes. Cast Lingering Souls, and then flash it back. Cool. Alright. Another Path to Exile. Alright. Yeah, and we'll just continue plussing with the Teferi. That seems good. And we'll just pass the turn here. Unfortunately, it's really bad to path or push Eternal Scourges because they get exiled and then they can cast them from exile. So we actually want to block Eternal Scourges if possible. Opponent's going to get the Seagate Wreckage online, which kind of sucks. Alright, the opponent is, once again, not attacking with anything. So we will just push the Eldrazi Mimic. I want to hold this Restoration Angel for more value, like with Spell Queller or something, kind of as I talked about before. Okay, the opponent just goes for this. This is fine. We will pull one of our remaining basics out. I guess we want the planes. Alright, it's one that becomes the target of a spell or ability. Exile it instead. Alright, there's Snapcaster Mage, so that's a really good target for the Restoration Angel. Once again, still not going to attack with these because we kind of have this game, I wouldn't say like totally handled, but we have it mostly handled, I would say. I guess Chalice of the Void is a really big problem for us. Also, don't think I plus Teferi there. Yeah, pretty sure I didn't do anything with this Teferi that last turn, which wasn't great. Yeah, there's a Reality Smasher. Dang. Alright. Alright, so we're gonna path the Reality Smasher and discard path, I guess. Alright, so that goes away. Alright, and then we will cast Restoration Angel. Target one of these spirits, but not blink it. So we'll say no. Then we'll block and block. So now the opponent needs some way to exile all the graveyards, or they won't be able to cast either of these spells. Alright, cool. So they both went to the graveyard. We don't know anything on our opponent's hand. We have 4 power and a Teferi that I forgot to plus last turn because I'm not smart. we will attack with the Restoration Angel. And I guess plus with the Teferi. We could have, I guess, attacked with this other spirit, but this would allow it to survive a Reality Smash attack. We're going to hold this in hand so that we don't get hit with a... Or if we have a Reality Smasher comes at us, we have something to discard. There we go. All right, and the opponent concedes. Good. All right. So in this matchup, let's see. Verdicts seem good again. The Kalita seems pretty good. The Kaya seems pretty good. Yeah, these don't do anything. These are actually actively bad in the matchup. The Kayas get rid of Chalice of the Void. That's the main reason I'm bringing that in, for those who are interested. The Inquisition seem very poor, so we'll board them out, especially if the opponent has Chalice of the Void in their deck. For that same reason, I think I'm just going to get rid of a Serum Vision. This way, we don't get as got by specifically Chalice of the Void. And we'll submit like that. So our outs to Chalice of the Void are Kayas and Teferis. Collective Brutality is also something we probably could have trimmed. Yeah, we probably should have trimmed this. But, I don't know. Maybe it'll be okay. We'll see. Yeah, so maybe we could bring back in like a Serum Visions and maybe on the play like an Inquisition for the 2 Collective Brutalities. Alright, we'll keep this hand. We do fortunately have a Fatal Push for the first Eldrazi that they play. Alright, it's another slow start for the opponent. No, it's not a slow start. They have the Chalice of the Void. Okay. Sure, so the opponent only has 4 cards in hand. We will just play a tap land and pass. We're just now looking to... Oh, they have Blast Zones in their deck. That's cool. Alright, Sorcerer's Spyglass. They'll probably name Flooded Strand, which is fine. I wasn't going to play around that specifically. They also could just name Teferi. They didn't see our Kayas. We don't have white mana outside of the Flooded Strand. I don't know. We'll see. Opponent is tanking. Sometimes when I'm playing brews like this, one of my favorite things is when the opponent tanks like this and it's obvious that they're on MTG Goldfish or elsewhere trying to, you know, really quickly find whatever the deck is that I'm playing, and obviously the deck doesn't exist because I made it. So, yeah, that happens sometimes and it's funny. Alright, we don't need more blue mana, so we'll get black-white. With Serum Visions, you always want to fetch before you cast it because that makes your scry a lot better. And I forgot that they had Chalice of the Void because I'm stupid, so we'll just pass. Bet you guys were yelling at me in the comments. It's like, hey, don't cast that Serum Visions. There's me casting the Serum Visions. I'm very much not used to Chalice of the Void being good against the decks that I play, so that was definitely a bit of a punt there. Alright. There is maybe some reason why playing it there would have been fine. Can't really think of one right now, but maybe it exists. It's probably just worth playing this Teferi, and if the opponent wants to attack it, then good for them. That's what I'm going to go with. So if the opponent wants to attack it, then we're just gaining life here, and that's fine. So I hope they play, or I hope they attack it. Hope they don't have Eldrazi's. Okay, good. Attacking the Teferi that I cannot activate. Alright, sounds good. Down to 1. Passing the turn. Alright. Ooh, there's a Spell Queller. Alright. Yeah, let's just play Kalitas. If the opponent has Dismember, then that's good for them. I'm not going to Collective Brutality them to get rid of a card they probably don't have anyway. Alright, so now we can Collective Brutality the Matter Reshaper, and it'll exile, which is good. I don't believe the opponent had that card in hand the last time, so I don't know what they have in hand here. But they probably would have played Eldrazi Temple before if they knew about it. Okay, another Sorcerer's Spyglass. I don't know what they'll name with this one. Interesting. Maybe Kalidas. I mean, Kalidas does have an activated ability. It's not a very good one. Yeah, okay, they name it. All right, fine. It's fine. Not like it is a good effect, obviously, especially against like Burn or something like that, but it's not very good in this specific matchup, even though it's looking like it might be a little bit better. Brutality, kill that, get in, versus just hold up Spell Queller. Yeah, I guess we'll just do it. And I guess we'll drain our opponent. We'll do 2 modes. You reveal... Oh, sorry. Kill and drain. So we'll kill that, drain the opponent, and just turn this Fatal Push into something that matters. Alright. And then we'll get in there for 3. Cool. Alright, so the opponent's going to try to build up their blast zone to eventually kill the Kalidas. What does our opponent find? A Serum Powder, okay. That's not too scary. There's a Supreme Verdict, alright. And I think we'll just hold up our Spell Queller here. Opponent is currently dead in 2 turns. There's Mutavault. Okay. Mutavault. I'm just going to flash in a Spell Queller here because it increases the beatdown. There's Plains. So we can bring our opponent down to 1 this turn if we Snapcaster Collective Brutality. The opponent's probably going to chump block with the Mutavault here. But that'll give us another zombie, so that's good. Unless they want to just block the zombie, which I guess they can do. Yeah, okay. So that's fine. We get another zombie. So the opponent's dead next turn unless they... you know, pull something really good here. Opponent just goes up to 3, which is a little curious. They could go up to 5 or 4 there to blow up the Kalidas, so I guess they're really relying on a top deck here. I don't know what they couldn't draw, though. All is dust? Ugh, Reality Smasher. Okay. Alright. Smashy, smashy. And they're going to draw a card off the Seagate Wreckage. Okay, so that will end the game then. Yeah, alright. The opponent just concedes. Well, if they would have blown up the blast zone, then I can't attack with this. Well, I guess I could attack with this. Yeah, but I don't know. Whatever. I guess the opponent didn't know our hand either. I don't know. Whatever. Alright, well, we're 2-0. Alright, everyone. Welcome to round number 3. I believe this is our first die roll we've won. This hand needs a land or 2, but we're going to keep it because it's got the Fatal Push, Queller, Kalidas. And I guess we'll just start with this Watery Grave tapped. We don't want to take unnecessary damage. And we probably aren't going to want to Fatal Push anything. We'll just Collective Brutality it. No, yeah, so like if it's burned like this, yeah, so we're just going to Collective Brutality and pitch something. Probably just pitch a Fatal Push. Go ahead and get black here because we need more black. So Swamp, and we will Collective Brutality, 2 modes. Actually, we could do 3 modes. Let's do 3 modes. So let's do them, discard, Fatal Push, Snapcaster Mage. Faithless Looting, Light Up the Stage, Lightning Bolt. Let's just take Light Up the Stage, I guess. Okay, another Monastery Swift Spear, and then I guess they're gonna cast Looting. No, nothing. Alright, fine. We'll let the opponent do all kinds of fancy stuff before combat, before doing anything with our Fatal Push. It doesn't look like they're gonna do fancy stuff before combat. Alright, so now we'll just push it. Soulscar Mage. Soulscar Mage makes our Kalitas a lot worse, just for reference. Yeah, I guess we'll just cast the Lingering Souls. So Soulscar Mage is really awkward with our creatures and such, but I think we'll make it work. All right, so now the opponent's going to cast the Looting. Sure, so the opponent has Lightning Bolt and 1 unknown card in hand. Discards Mountain Looting. They have a Bolt. Alright, so they're just going to bolt us, which means we're probably going to chump here. An unknown card, a Light Up the Stage. Interesting. Let's hit a couple of lands here, please. Phoenix and Swift Spear. Alright. Well, one of those is good for us. So we'll block and pass. There's Blue to Delta. Alright, so they have Swift Spear, Phoenix. I guess we're just going to go ahead and get the Kalitas down here. We'll get an island here. And, oh, I guess we should have gotten a Plains. A white source. But then that we would have to take damage for that. So maybe this is good. Yeah, we'll see. Alright. So if the opponent draws a land off the top, then they can cast the Arclight Phoenix. If they don't draw a land off the top, or they did draw a land off the top, so they can cast the Arclight Phoenix. Alright, the opponent concedes. Sweet. Alright. So Kalita seems good. Kaya seems good. These Dovin's Vetoes seem pretty good. The opponent's on Faithless Looting, so maybe even the Narset seems good. So these are cards that are probably fine to good. I don't like Thoughtseizes in mono red matchups. I know our opponent's playing Arclight Phoenixes, but still. I don't think I'm bringing in Surgical against them, against their Phoenixes. I think we're just going to have to try to do it with Kaya, but that also seems a little rough. So maybe that's not the case. Teferi's not great. The Lingering Souls block them so well, so maybe if we can just get there with Kaya and that, it'll be fine. Serum Visions are a little bit on the slow side, so maybe we don't need all these Dovin's Vetoes. Maybe just like this. Yeah, like Restoration Angel blocks it really well. The Wall of Omens block the other things well. Snapcaster is good with Brutality and such. Spell Quellers block things pretty well. Yeah, let's just do it like this. So we got 1 Veto. We have 1 counterspell in the deck. This hand's just too slow. We're going to mulligan this hand. This hand's great. We'll keep this one, and we will put the Kalitas on the bottom just because of how slow it is. This hand's just like black-white stuff. It's really cool. All right. That's even a great draw. So we get to start off with an Inquisition of our opponent. Have a Shrine of Burning Rage, which is really hard for us to beat, so we'll take that. The rest of the cards, I think we should be able to get, but that one specifically is would be really hard to beat. Opponent plays Mountain, plays Metamorphose. into Bolt into light up the stage. Alright, so there's Bolt, and then they use to light up the stage. And exile Lava Spike Mountain. Okay. We'll just play that and pass the turn. The opponent will play those cards, and then maybe we should use that opportunity to use our Collective Brutality. Unsure. Alright, so they use that. They play that. They play another light up stage, Soul Scar Mage, and a Mountain. Alright. So now we can use our Collective Brutality here. We will use 2 modes to look at our opponent's hand and kill our opponent's thing. And we will discard a basic plains. Alright, so the opponent's hand is just a couple of mountains. And they have a mountain in hand. So we'll pass the turn. And then we get to play Kaya next turn, which is going to be excellent. Opponent just has mountain with an exiled mountain. Opponent concedes the match. Excellent. Alright, 3-0. Alright, everyone, welcome to round number 3. This hand is also great. Or round number 4. Every time. I did this also last time I recorded. I said round 3 on round 4. Alright. This hand is very painless and also really good against creature strategies, and then our opponent does not appear to be on a creature strategy. Alright. But we drew a card that's really good against non-creature strategies, so we'll see. Creeping Tar Pit's a good start for us. Alright, the opponent's probably on Storm. Okay, I lied. This hand's actually really good against Storm. Let's draw... Okay. I waited too long. I was going to say let's draw a... Inquisition. Inquisition would be ideal. Kaya's really good against our opponent, too. They can't really go off with flashback cards if we have Kaya's, so that's cool. Alright, there's an Electromancer, so we'll just Snapcaster kill that, I guess. Huh. Alright. Well, we're going to continue doing what I said. So we'll Snapcaster kill it. If our opponent has an unsub or something, that's good for them. Probably could have done this, I guess, during our opponent's upkeep, but that's fine. Yeah, okay, the opponent had the remand. Wow, good for them. Alright. So let's just hope we're not dead here. We might be dead. If we did this during our opponent's turn, I'm not sure if that changes anything for us. Alright, so they got 1 mana floating, so we don't want to give them mana. Yeah, we probably should have just done it during their upkeep. That was probably a mistake. Alright, so if we give them Manamorphose and Past in Flames, then they need another ritual to go off, so I guess we'll do that. Oh, other way around. Yeah, we should have given them the other 2. So we should have put the 2 rituals in the graveyard. Alright, our opponent opts. I think we screwed this one up. Oh, we'll make them kill us. They need the storm count all the way up to 20, which actually might be a little bit hard. So they're just going off, but they're only at 10 right now. So we obviously need to put the Grape Shot in the graveyard, and then also probably want to put the Manamorphose in the graveyard, because that's fewer... okay, they just do another Past in Flames. Alright, so we want to put Manamorphose in the graveyard, and I guess the Past in Flames in the graveyard. Alright. Opponent casts Serum Visions, that's fine. They must have Grape Shot in hand already. Yeah, the opponent could have won with another land anyway. So, 18, 19, and then Grape Shot. There's a Grape Shot. All right. Concede. It was a little rough. All right. So we lost our first game of this league. In this matchup, I like the Surgical Extractions. I like the Dovin's Vetoes. I like the Unmoored Egos. I like the Ashioks. I like the Kaya. I like some number of Verdict. I like the Narset. Cards I don't like too much are Path to Exile, Wall of Omens, Lingering Souls, Restoration Angels. And then I guess one more card that we have to cut, so maybe like a Kalitas. Just do something like that. Like just try to like stack style lock our opponent out. They can only cast spells anytime they could cast a sorcery. Alright. And maybe we'll keep... Yeah, so we'll keep the Kalitas in, I guess, and... Yeah. So we'll just have 2 Teferis. Alright. So yes, we'd like to play first. Alright, this hand is very good. We'll keep it. Opponent is considering their hand. All right, the opponent starts on 6. And we will go with the Dark Slick Shores with an Inquisition to lead off, and then we can do the Serum Visions the next turn. This opponent has Opt, Pieces of the Puzzle, Manamorphose, Desperate Ritual. We'll just take the pieces of the puzzle. That's the longer game that our opponent has planned. So we'll get rid of that, which means that our opponent will have to find what they want with some of these cantrips here. Opponent did put a card on top, which is a little scary with their Opt. We draw, so it's a land, and then another land. Alright. Well, I'm definitely down for this Concealed Courtyard. I think the Spell Queller might be a little bit too much. Okay, the opponent just plays a land and passes. Interesting. Alright, so we can go with Unmoored Ego here on our opponent and just name Grape Shot. So we'll name Grape Shot because we can Supreme Verdict our opponent to kill their other things. Alright, they actually had one in hand. They also have an Empty the Warrens in hand, which is good to know. In addition to that, they have, in terms of win conditions, 2 more empties, and that's about it. In terms of interaction, they have 1 unsub, 1 wipe away, 1 Giga Drowse. Yeah. Alright. So the opponent can make some number of goblins next turn if they'd like. It's not very many goblins, though. I guess if they draw like a ritual, it could become a lot of goblins. Alright, there's a Baral. So that's... Okay, I guess they're just going to go for it here. Sure. Alright. That's more goblins than I thought it was going to be. Alright, we need to find a white source. Jeez. Alright. White source off the top. It's not a white source. Alright. Yeah. Alright, we could lose here. We have to draw a white source off the top. Actually, that's not true. Yeah, that's not exactly true. So we get to cast Spell Queller here, which is really weird, and kill a goblin, which will put us to 10, and then we can block another goblin next turn, so we're not actually just dead next turn. But we do need to draw a white source the next 2 turns, and it can't be painful if we don't draw it this next turn. Opponent is thinking. Alright, there's an unmoored ego. Oh, what did they? They wiped away our concealed courtyard. That's what they did. Okay. Okay. Well, like I said, we're not just dead here. It's obviously not looking good here, but... So we have a basic plains. Okay, so if we push one of the goblins, then we can actually draw one of our 4 fetch lands too. So we'll do that. So we'll block here and then push this Baral. So now we can draw a fetch land that will let us get basic plains. And we do not draw it. All right. All right, everyone. We are 3-1. We are going into the 5th and final one, trying to get the 4-1. We unfortunately somehow lost 2-0 very quickly to a very good matchup. So unsure of exactly how this is going to go this time around. Let's see, I'm assuming the opponent is on Death Shadow. So we'll Inquisition them first. No, they are on Esper Control. Wow, this will be interesting. I guess we'll just take the Nile Spellbomb. Because our opponent's low on mana, and the Path to Exiles are really bad in this matchup. And they currently can't cast these Logic Knots. We'll honestly probably even hold on to the Thoughtseize here. Okay, the opponent plays the Godless Shrine tapped and passes. We will play a Watery Grave tapped. See if our opponent finds a blue source. They do not. Alright, so we'll get these Lingering Souls down, which is excellent. They'll have a blue source next turn. Ooh, Teferi? Never mind. We're just going to slam this Teferi right in our opponent's face. Teferi. And we'll start off just by minusing it because we'd like to draw a card. Alright, cool. The opponent plays a land and passes. We will plus with the Teferi. So it's each opponent can only cast it at any time they would cast an instant. So we will Lingering Souls and then draw step. We will Thoughtseize our opponent. Alright, so we'll get a white source. So we want a Godless Shrine. I guess we wanted a blue source there too. Alright. So we'll play Lingering Souls, and we'll pass the turn, and then we will draw step Thoughtseize our opponent. Thoughtseize you. Alright, cool. We'll take the Nihil Spellbomb. Alright, so the opponent's hand is Logic Knot, Logic Knot, Logic Knot, Path, Path. And the opponent concedes. That's how you beat a control mirror. That was cool. I haven't had that much fun in a long time in a control mirror. Turn 5 beating the control mirror with 2 power on board. That's awesome. Alright, so Kaya comes in, Ashioks come in, Narset comes in, Dovin's Veto comes in. We will cut all the Path to Exiles. I like leaving in like a Fatal Push. We probably don't need 2 though. And the Wall of Omens are probably not needed. So maybe just like this. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, this hand's great. Keep it. Oh, there's an Ashiok. Alright. Start off with the Creeping Tar Pit. Next turn, we'll probably cast the Serum Visions after fetching with the Flooded Strand. Opponent looks like they're going to opt here. So what's really cool is that the Kaya plus Ashiok work really well together. So Ashiok will make sure that our opponent has like basically no cards left in their library, and then the Kaya will just exile all of them, which is really cool. Or not exile, we'll actually like kill the opponent. All right, so here we can instead just Collective Brutality our opponent to take a counterspell, which might be best if we're trying to resolve a couple of Planeswalkers back to back. Opponent can just counter this if they'd like. That's fine. Sure. So based on how the opponent played that, they probably have another counterspell in hand, so we'll probably just play Lingering Souls next turn. Like, if they want to counter Lingering Souls, that's really fine with us. If they don't counter the Lingering Souls, then they have to beat the 2/2s or the 1/1s. So, yeah, this is fine. We'd prefer, obviously, if the opponent didn't just play a Jace here, but if they do, I guess we're just going to have to deal with it. Okay, it does not appear that they do, which is good. Alright, there's a Restoration Angel. We will fetch with this first. We're just going to get Watery Grave tapped. Then we're going to cast Serum Visions and then flash back Lingering Souls. Alright, so there's the Teferi. We want lands, so we're going to bottom the 2 of these and then flash back Lingering Souls. And the opponent can counter this also if they'd like. Okay, they're just going to opt. Alright, cool. So now our opponent's Planeswalkers are a lot worse because we have board pressure, which is pretty much exactly where you want to be. Opponent plays a Nihil Spellbomb, which is fine. I guess we'll start with Teferi because they have to counter it. And then we'll just, just jam other Planeswalkers as we can. Alright, so the opponent exiles everything. See if they drew a counterspell. They did not. Yeah, let's just minus on nothing again. Drawing this card and passing. We have Fatal Push up for the Celestial Colonnade. Engineered Explosives for 3, sure. Opponent has cast the Engineered Explosives for 3. Sounds good. Alright, we're going to fetch here. It's another reason why we just wanted to draw a card off of it right away, is because something like that. Alright, we'll plus this. We unfortunately are not going to be able to play Ashiok or Kaya here, just because of how the mana's working out. Or not because of how the mana's working out, because of how Engineered Explosives is interacting with our hand. There we go. Got it the second try. Alright, so we'll get in with the 2 spirits. The end of the turn, the opponent will blow up the EE for 3, and then we can just put a Restoration Angel down at the end of their turn to beat them and play, like, Ashiok or something. Alright, cool. So that's destroyed. But we did draw a card off of it, so that was a 2 for 1. And we'll flash in a Restoration Angel here, because the opponent probably needs to counter it, because that is a legitimate clock. They also might just have Path, and if they just have Path, that's fine, because the spirits are killing them slowly. Hoping to eat maybe a Cryptic Command here, because then we get to just jam Kaya, Ashiok. Okay, sure, the opponent's drawing 2 cards, that's fine. Alright, so nothing. We do need to select a target. We just do not need to say yes. So we'll say no. Alright, so we are going to get to resolve both, or one of these Planeswalkers. We just need to figure out the order. It's probably best if we just go to combat first. It makes it a little bit more likely that we'll get to resolve one of the Planeswalkers. I think the Ashiok is a little bit less good, so we'll try to resolve that first. Oh. We'll try to tap correctly. Alright, black. Cast Ashiok. Cool. Alright, and then we will exile everything out of our opponent's graveyard. Alright, we also got a Snapcaster Mage out of that, which is nice. And we'll play a Kaya. Oops, we need a black. And we'll play a Kaya. Alright, cool. And we will plus, and we'll exile our Teferi to protect us from surgical extraction. And we'll pass the turn. Opponent Celestial Purges 1. Okay, that's fine. We can put lethal on our opponent next turn, which is nice. Alright, there's Teferi. Alright, opponent will draw a card here. Alright, the opponent is going to have to interact with our Kaya soon. I think we're just going to go after our opponent here, like... So we'll exile the Purge. And then we'll just go to combat here. Let's see if our opponent taps anything down. Yeah, so they're going to tap all creatures and draw a card. So I guess we should have waited on the Kaya. Interesting. I guess we should have waited on the Kaya. So we can take our opponent down to 4, but that doesn't do much. So I guess we're just going to pass. Or we can do... Yeah, I guess we'll just play a Kalitas. That's fine. Sure. Alright. So this gives our opponent some outs, just because we didn't play that particularly well. I guess we played it fine, just it wasn't ideal. Alright, opponent draws some cards. That's fine. The opponent needs to have exactly Cryptic Command or another answer for Kaya here. I guess they can also just minus the Teferi on it. Yeah, okay, so there's that. So Teferi's minused. 3, 6, 7, 8. So I guess I am just going to flash in Snapcaster Mage here at the end of the turn. And then this will beat a few things. Unsure. Opponent goes to 6, which is a lot different. Not sure what they're going to be playing here. Apparently something. Oh, Fatal Push. Okay. Yep. Alright, so the opponent has 4 cards in hand. I think we're just going to go for the Snapcaster Mage here. Yeah. Good. Alright, we drew a fetch land. So now we're going to go to combat here. Alright. Activate. Activate this, which will beat a few things, including, I believe, Snapcaster Push. Yeah, alright, so now we'll just attack you with everything. I'm assuming they don't have Settle the Wreckage. If they do, then they got us. Cool. All right. 3-1. Well, or 4-1. Jeez, I keep saying the match wrong. All right. Well, I was really excited about the way that played out. That was really fun. The control mirror was awesome. The Esper mirror. Teferi's the real deal in that. Very, very happy with it. I'll try to keep tuning this list, but Esper Midrange, I think, is a little bit more of the bigger deal than most people think it is. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video, and I'll see you guys next time.